everybody. My name is Adam Ruddermann. I'm here to talk about how to use bug bounty to get a job in Silicon Valley. So let's get started. So, hi, nice to meet you. I go by Rud. My name is Adam Ruddermann, but there's a million Adams in the world. And I used to spent most of my career in the military government, so no one's called me by my first name in a long time. So a little bit about me and why I'm here. So I got my start in the United States military in the Air Force. I was on the National Security Agency's Red Team. I was a technical lead there. Basically, if it ended with .mil, well, we could go against it, and that was a lot of fun. I then helped work at the Joint Task Force for Global Network Operations. That became U.S. Cyber Command, so I helped stand up the Network Defense Watch Floor for U.S. Cyber Command. After that, I worked for Booz Allen Hamilton in various government contracts doing strategic cyber operations, consulting, and operations management. I then left government actually, I reached out to a friend who is one of the founders of Synac, which is one of the 3 big bug bounty startups I'll talk about later. And I asked him for resume advice because I was trying to get out of government, and he offered me a job, and I'm one of the original employees there. I had a kid, and I went and joined to work Facebook. Actually, most of my time at Facebook was not related to bug bounty. They didn't hire me for that. Most of my time there was actually on user data protection, which is, it wasn't very popular at the time, but apparently it's gotten big today. And NCC Group invited me to take over their bug bounty services practice, which is one of the original providers of bug bounty related services in the industry. We were there providing staff augmentation and strategic support for some of the original bug bounty programs many, many years ago. So it's a little bit about me. So first, before we start going into details of what exactly, of how to use bug bounty, what is bug bounty? So basically what happens is you can use whatever words you want. Some companies call them security researchers, some companies call them white hats, some companies call them hackers, and usually the people who are paying the bills and wearing suits call them like damn kids and millennials. They find security vulnerabilities in an organization by accident or purposefully, and then they disclose that vulnerability to the organization, hopefully responsibly in a way that gives them the opportunity to hopefully fix the bug, which is the whole point of this. It's not just find bugs, but actually fix bugs to make people better. And then the organization might give a reward. That's really at the high level what it is, but there's tons more detail about that. So what? So why do we care about this, and why is it relevant to you? So this is just an example. All of these organizations, most of these logos you know, all of these organizations run bug bounty programs in some way. And a lot of people make a lot of money off of these. I ran Facebook's bug bounty program and very happy to have regularly paid out, we paid out about $1 million a year when I was there. Google, I think in total, Facebook's paid out $5 or $6 million. Google's paid out a ton of money. Uber's paid out nearly like a little over $1.5 million. The US Department of Defense, you can go hack the Pentagon, has paid out quite a bit of money. I think they're nearly $500,000 maybe. So there's a lot of opportunities, and this is just a handful of logos. These are just ones you know. But let's talk tactical. Like what does this actually look like? You're looking at the program pages for Uber and Twitter's bug bounty programs. It's all spelled out. You literally can just go up there, look and see what parts of their products you can target and the way to integrate with them, and then literally click the submit report button, and that's all you have to do. And you are submitting a vulnerability to Uber and Twitter, which is awesome. That's a really, really awesome way to do security, and they've had tons of success in this. Uber's also published what they call a treasure map that has given insight into the way their product works to enable researchers, people they don't know, to find security vulnerabilities in their products. So this is an example of a report. Just to make this tangible. This is cool. Like, what's nice about bug bounty, and this Snapchat is on HackerOne's platform, is this bug is public. I didn't use any special access to find this. Once the bug is fixed, they disclose the bug, and so other people can see that. This is a phenomenal way to make security better in the world because it's promoting transparency. Also, bug bounty is fast. Look at this. 7 hours. That's crazy. If you're relying on pen tests, which, by the way, is NCC's core business, and I'm totally supportive of that, and like pen tests absolutely have a place in this business. But the reality is that bug bounty can do phenomenal good to fill that gap between pen tests. And you can make some really solid money along the way too, like no complaints. That's 15 grand. That's incredible. When I was at Facebook, I paid a 10-year-old $10,000 for finding a really awesome bug. You could delete a comment from another user onto another user's Instagram. So imagine a scenario where Taylor Swift was commenting on Kanye's post on Instagram, and suddenly that disappeared. Not a good scene. 10-year-old found it. We gave him $10,000. We got to meet the Prime Minister of Finland. That's super cool. This kid's going places. User Day is a big deal at Facebook now. This is after when I left, but this is amazing. HackerOne's probably at this point the largest platform out there. In the first 3 or 4 years of their life, they paid out $20 million in bugs. And in the 4 years after that, they plan to pay out $80 million in bugs. That's $80 million on the table for people to go get. Literally, we're going to pay $80 million. Go get it. All right, so hopefully at least you're interested now. There's money on the table. No one's stopping you. It's all about you, which is awesome, and I love it. So where do you start? We're going to give the translator a second to catch up. All right, I'm going to start really simple. Let's assume you know very, very little, which is fine. There's great sandboxes to learn how to do web security. There's Google Carreira. It's Swiss cheese because it's got holes in it. It's purposely vulnerable. And then there's also the damn vulnerable iOS and web applications, which are great products for you to bang against on your own time to learn how to hack iOS applications and web products. So I mentioned platforms. So here's the way bug bounty works. A company says, I want to do a bug bounty program. If they're not Facebook or Google or Microsoft, and don't have a ton of engineering support behind them, they go and use one of these platforms to host their program pages where they tell you the rules and the scope. And also, it's a communication platform for you to submit your bugs and have a conversation back and forth in a safe and consistent way. And also get recognized, which we'll talk about a little bit later. By the way, I don't have a strong opinion on which one of these are better. I used to work for Synack. Synack doesn't do public programs. Cobalt mostly does pen tests. BugCrowd and HackerOne do private and public programs, and I'll get to that later. But really, this is all about money. If you're not in bug bounty for the money, while it's great that you're trying to build a reputation, you're trying to build a skill set, the real key thing is leverage bug bounty to make this a career. That's what I want to talk about today. There's people who do it on the side, and that's great. But really, you should be after the money, because you're after the right incentives and you're doing the right things if you're going for the most payout. So where do you start? You focus on the programs that pay out rewards. You would think maybe that going for programs that don't pay out rewards would be easier because maybe folks aren't focusing on them as much. That's true. But those programs also may not really, they might have very limited scopes, and they also, where there's not a lot to test, they also might be slower to respond because they haven't really fully invested internally yet either. And honestly, you should be going for making money because that's sustainable for you. This shouldn't be a hobby, ideally. If you're trying to get a job in security and using bug bounty to really plus up your CV, you should be trying to make money off of this so it justifies your time and you don't fall behind and go find something else to do. The one exception on programs that don't pay out is governments because they have a unique situation. Government programs are great to go after and super impactful, and it looks great on your CV. Another thing to focus on first, there's tons of bugs out there. You see all these really neat, amazing, cool vulnerability findings that people are talking about on Twitter and doing talks about at Black Hat. Start simple. Just focus on the OWASP top 10. If you don't know what that is, just literally Google OWASP and it'll come up. So in other words, focus on web products and mobile APIs first. They're easy to start out with technically, and also many bugs look similar. One CSRF bug frequently looks like another CSRF bug. And so it's easier for you to find and make money and grow your skill set and learn how to find certain classes of bugs across a diversity of products and technology stacks. Also, another great trick, let me see if I talked about it before, talking about the next one, is some of the top-end hackers out there blog all the time and talk about their findings after they're fixed. So if you're not sure what kind of bug to look for, okay, you know what cross-site scripting is, you know what SQL injection is, but there's a lot more to it than that. These folks are talking about what they're finding, and sometimes they're really complex and they're really cool. And so following them and just looking them up and looking at their Twitter feeds is a great way to learn about sorts of classes of bugs you can be looking for yourself. So if you're really paying attention and you're really, really trying, and you really, really are taking this seriously, a few things will happen. First, you'll quickly realize what you don't know, which is great. You have to have a little introspection. You'll also quickly realize what bugs companies care about and what bugs companies don't care about. The reality is, and I accept this, is like when you're coming into security new, what happens is everything sounds important and serious. And that's true. Scanners, if you've ever used a web scanner, are notorious for this. Web scanners give companies hundreds and hundreds of vulnerabilities, most of them theoretical. If you actually are trying, you'll really quickly realize what you don't know. And that includes trying to find your own bugs, but also trying to find the same sort of bugs other more experienced researchers have found. And honestly, if you're actually trying to do this for real, like, you should take this seriously. This is a job. Track it. If you encounter something you don't understand, write it down. I use an Excel spreadsheet personally, and then I could just prioritize that list. Sometimes there's things where I've tried to figure out, like, what do I learn next? And I just tick off how many times I've seen something I don't understand, and I just go for that one first. And it's served me very well professionally. And really just challenge yourself. It's very easy in bug bounty to just keep finding CSRF bugs. Keep finding cross-site scripting bugs. Challenge yourself, especially if you want to make a career out of this. You can make solid money out of just finding the same sort of bugs over and over again, because there's so many bug bounty programs out there. There's hundreds of them. But if you're looking to get a job, you need to be more well-rounded than that. Companies are looking for more than that. And you need to challenge yourself. So let's say you keep doing that for a little while. Give yourself 6 months, and you're finding you're consistently finding bugs, you're doing a good job, and you want to challenge yourself more. The way to go for that, what happens then is you'll have a great reputation on Bugcrowd or HackerOne. And what happens when you have a good reputation score is that you wind up getting invited to private programs. And that means there's way more private programs than public programs. And also, there are better payouts, and the private programs frequently have way better scopes and more interesting targets. There's also just more advanced programs out there that you could try that are public programs. The one on the left, that's the symbol for the Facebook Bug Bounty Program. This is the Google Bug Bounty Program, the main Google VRP as they call it. And then there's Microsoft, Uber, and a few others that are really good advanced programs to learn. So this is an example of Franz Rosen. He's a friend of mine, he's Swedish. These are the reputation scores I'm talking about. He's one of the more well-known researchers. This guy makes a lot of money finding a whole lot of bugs, and he travels the world now as a bug bounty hacker, and it's a great life. You can find him on Instagram. It's amazing where he goes. The value of continuing to challenge yourself is that there's also gamification on these platforms. This is Franz's gamification. You get badges and stuff. It's crazy. You can do a lot to build your reputation and prove your ability in a very public way through bug bounty, in a way that will get companies' attention, companies in San Francisco's attention. So then you do advanced programs, you're successful in it. What happens then? You need to start going deep. Reality is you need to start going deep and proving that you actually can understand their technology stacks well. Now, when a company is looking at hiring a product security engineer, which is really what I'm suggesting here is the product security engineering career path, they don't necessarily need you to show up at day one knowing everything about their stack. That's absolutely not necessary and absolutely not expected. The difference, they want to see that you can have that depth though. And in this case, this is an example of Facebook. Facebook lives off of the Graph API. Everything that you do at Facebook is a Graph API call. And Graph API is a very unique API. And there's an Explorer. You can go, this is just a screenshot from the website. You can go play with that right now. And there are researchers out there that know Facebook's Graph API better than Facebook. And those people crush it. They do a great job finding bugs, and they make a lot of money doing so. And they find those high-end bugs. So this is an easy example that I can take a screenshot of. But the reality is that there's lots of other examples like this where you can demonstrate depth and expertise with no one's help and just go and do it. One of those people I'm talking about, this is Philippe. He's one of the best hackers Facebook has. He focuses on that program primarily. This guy just makes tons of money. He knows some of Facebook's products better than the engineers themselves, just honestly, because he knows the APIs and he submits bugs and he asks questions. And he's also very transparent about what he does, and he tries to help the community. He makes videos of everything he does, and he talks about how he finds those bugs. Okay, cool. So you can find bugs now, and you're really, really good at it. But can you fix them? The problem with finding bugs is it's reactive. And companies want to be proactive. They want to prevent bugs. And so while companies do have internal pen testing teams, what makes someone go from like, this person's a solid pen tester, but to, let's just hire this person, is that they also can fix bugs. And because being able to fix bugs means you can work with engineering teams and help them be better engineers, help them do more secure software, and work with them in a non-judgmental way. That's critical, and we'll get to that a little bit more later. Also, if you can write code, you can get paid way better than just being an internal pen tester. So again, let's assume you know very little, nothing about how to go about doing this. What do you do? Like say you don't have any software engineering skills. You crawl. Reinvent the wheel. If you're doing this regularly, you're going to be using tools. Some of them open source and easy to find. Go automate something that's already been automated, just so you can try it yourself and you can see how someone else did it. It's a great opportunity to learn. It's easy. There's tons of little quick tools. Inevitably, if you're doing this stuff seriously, you will find a process of your own that is super manual and annoying that you can easily automate. That's hard to do initially, especially if the tool doesn't exist out there and you don't have a model copy. But that's a good way to go intermediate, and then you can release something, possibly if you really polish it up. And I know lots of folks who do that to get their names out there. And then if you want to run, like this is the extreme. This is like nightmare hardcore mode, okay? Like there's very few people who can do this, but this is like the top end. Google has patch rewards. So there's many bug bounty program, open source pieces of software that Google will pay a bug bounty for if you submit and get a fix submitted. But now you have to round yourself out. Cool. You can find bugs, you can fix bugs. But that doesn't mean you're a great employee, right? Like, can you communicate as a person? Can you help people? Can you help build a security program? So you need to round yourself out. Write your bug reports in detail. Go into detail about how you found them. Go into detail about the impact of them. It's super important. Demonstrate that you can help others. Do personal one-on-one training. You have a friend who works as a medical lab technician and wants to make more money and wants to go into security. Help them out. Challenge yourself. And then give talks. There's lots of examples of ways to give talks. In Brazil, I have a friend who's from Sao Paulo. He gave me a huge list of hacker clubs just in the city alone. They're all over Brazil. And these are places where you can learn and then help others and continue to challenge yourself and to grow as a public speaker on this. Super important. We need to have a grown-up adult conversations about this. You need to be fucking professional, okay? Because just because you don't work for this company does not mean that you are suddenly entitled to be rude or mean or demanding to anybody. That's not the way the world works, especially if you want to get a job. If you have no plans of getting a job, I guess you could do that. But there's consequences to that too. I mean, look at here. We're having fun. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I have my old crappy Vans on because I heard it was going to rain. Whatever, right? But the reality is that, I'll go back. But the reality is the people on the other side of that submission are dealing with a whole lot more than you, okay? So I have a couple screenshots from another slide deck I give to new clients and to manager levels during presentations. This is what they're dealing with every day. They're dealing with lawyers and executives. They're dealing with the PR team. They're dealing with whether or not they are hitting service level agreements with other organizations and what kind of charges happen, who pays the money if you don't hit that SLA. They're talking about engineering partnerships and all kinds of other junk. They're busy and they don't have time for BS. They have time for professionals who are trying to help them be successful. I mean, just look at it from a legal perspective. This is a nightmare. This isn't fine at all. So on the other side of that submission are people who look like this. But these are your network. These are your mentors. These are the people who refer you. These are the people who are going to be your hiring managers. Those are the people on the other side. So even if you don't want to work for, say, Facebook, you want to work for Google or something, all of us know each other. We're 10 minutes down the road away from each other back in the day. It was hilarious. The reality is that they need to like you. And they maybe don't need to like you as a person, but they need to like you as a professional. It's super important. Because on the other side of them, behind them, are people who look like this. And these people have no time for drama. They want professionals. They're willing to pay the money. They're willing to pay you fairly. But they don't have time for BS. That's just being real. One key aspect of this, when communicating with these teams, is to understand the real impact of your bugs. CVSS is not a good measurement of impact. It just really isn't. I mean, it's valid in some ways, but for most proxy security companies, it's not. You have to be realistic. Cool, you found a reflected cross-site scripting vulnerability. Okay. Like, that's not, in many cases, that's not a big deal. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Depends on the company. What the key thing is, and what companies are going to strive for to see out of a bug bounty, a person with a large bug bounty history, is that you understand the unique context and impact of the bug to them. A bug that's important for one company is not going to be important for another company, and that's just reality. And there's sometimes very good reasons for that. Also, just understand their priorities. They've got a lot going on. At any given time, their priorities are going to change. Here's a great example. This is a screenshot of all of the unique bug bounty programs Microsoft is listing right now. They have start and end dates for bug bounty programs at Microsoft. And if you're outside those start and end dates, sorry. The reason they do this is because it's a massive engineering organization. They have to align bug bounty to the resources so that resources are there to fix those bugs. These bug bounty programs exist to find bugs and get them fixed, not collect them and stare at them. So in some cases, they only look for bug bounties when they know they can fix them. I mentioned this before. You got to treat it like a job. Follow the rules. These programs have rules for a reason. Please follow them. You're doing no one a favor. You're not helping them by going outside those rules. It's not like they're trying to be a pain. They're not trying to limit you. They're just working within the boundaries of what they're dealing with. Frequently legal. Communicate professionally. Imagine you were talking to your boss. Just talk professionally. And listen to your audience. If they give you feedback, they tell you this isn't that impactful for this or that, or we don't think this is valid for this or that. You guys can hear me okay? Okay. Listen to them and just take the feedback. They're not trying to like nickel and dime you. They're not trying to be cheap. And this all builds mutual trust and respect and helps you build relationships sometimes locally and also globally. The main person I worked with at Facebook to rebuild Facebook's bug bounty program was Brazilian. It's one of the reasons I'm here. I'm just excited to be here. And he introduced me to folks here. So this is a great community, but you gotta be chill and you gotta understand what's important. Because here's what happens if you don't. Here's a great example of a submission to the Uber bug bounty program. Internet famous. He was out of scope, just out of the rules. The report's invalid because it's simply out of scope. It's like that domain does not count for bug bounty submissions. Really straightforward. You can look at the page. He did not appreciate that and decided to call the entire company Uber motherfuckers and taxi drivers. And lastly, very importantly, you gotta speak English. Okay, just being real. I know that sucks for some people. It's tough. I'll be honest with you. I'm lazy and I only speak English. Sorry. But most of the folks on the other side of these are going to be English speakers. So I don't care if you speak like Obama, who's a great public speaker, American. I don't care if you speak like the freaking Queen. I don't care if you speak like this guy. You just got to be clear and professional and not talk like this guy. Because that's real. Because that's what you just saw. Here's what happens when you behave like that. Here's what happens to the other guy. He was banned from Uber's program and had additional restrictions put on him on HackerOne's program. I hope it was worth like that one diss to the Uber folks. Because he's out. And that's reality. So wrapping up, one more thing. This came from my friend Reginaldo. Maybe Silicon Valley isn't for you. He loves Brazil. There's days he gets frustrated and he goes, no, I just want to go home. He lives in San Francisco now. He had the highest payout ever for Facebook at the time. They offered him a job and he took it. And this is straight from him. This is a quote. I got this from him yesterday. Working in Silicon Valley is great, but it may not be your goal. Doing bug bounties is to get paid in dollars while living in Brazil is pretty sweet and also not very hard to do. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. Focus on impact, not what sounds cool. Focus on impact. And just be cool, and let's help make the internet a more safer and secure place. Thank you.